Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and I'll be brief. Two, I want to underscore what Mr. DeFazio said about the U.S. Has the opportunity here to be a leader on transportation of lithium-ion batteries. The ICAO, as good an organization as it is not leading. It has been dragging its feet. We have been dragging our feet. The U.S. can be a leader on this, and I think we ought to approve this amendment. And I want to remind folks, with all due respect to Mr. Micah's example about who has a phone or a laptop or a iPad or some other tablet with a lithium-ion battery, when you're traveling in an airplane, you're not stacking yourself on top of other people with their lithium-ion battery-powered devices. The idea that you're carrying it is not a big deal. The idea here is the lithium-ion batteries being transported, palletized, one on top of each other in a cargo hold. That becomes the issue. We've had that experience with lithium-ion batteries in proximity in airplanes in this country for the 787. That's an example. That got fixed, but it did get fixed after some problems. That's what we're talking about. We're not talking about individuals carrying a lithium-ion battery-powered laptop or smartphone onto an airplane. It's about the proximity of the numbers of lithium-ion batteries being palletized, stacked together, and transported. Yield back.
Gentlemen, yield.
I will yield the remaining of my time to Mr.
Unfortunately, we don't. This is the size of the box which I could pick up. I'm not that strong or that big. That took down the cargo plane. This box, about yay big, with lithium batteries in it. And as the gentleman just made the point, I'm not stacking my iPad on the chairman's and on my staff's and everybody else's and then putting them in the cargo hold. Once one of these batteries goes critical, it becomes a chain reaction. It only takes one, and the whole thing goes. As you know, Boeing learned the hard way in the 787. And by the way, they never figured out how to deal with it. So the only way they can deal with it is to evacuate all of the oxygen. So now we still have lithium batteries on 787s, and the solution is they are vented to the outer atmosphere so the fire will die. Well, doing that inside a plane is, depressurization. It's very problematic. It isn't a contained battery box. So this is a very serious issue. Thank you. I thank the gentleman.
Gentleman yield.
It's his time.
Yep, he yielded. Mr. Costello.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to speak in opposition to Ranking Member DeFazio's amendment, removing Section 828 as a broad stroke that would change existing law for lithium battery transport. Of particular concern is that this amendment would inappropriately include medical device batteries in new regulations, resulting in severe supply chain bottlenecks, increased costs, and restricted patient access to medically necessary care. This amendment risks the supply and access to life-saving medical technology. If there is a shortage of critical devices such as pacemakers, which rely on lithium batteries that are safely manufactured here in the U.S., the DeFazio amendment would impose undue burdens and costs that would jeopardize timely access to these important devices. The legislation offered by Chairman Schuster more than adequately strikes the balance between rigorous air safety provisions and allowing commerce to function in an appropriate and necessary manner. I would call on my colleagues to oppose the DeFazio amendment and likewise want to convey my personal willingness to work with the Chairman and Ranking Member, along with representatives from the aviation and medical device and technology industries, to promote safety and ensure that life-saving technologies and the batteries that power them remain available to patients in a timely manner. I yield back.
Will the gentleman yield a second?
Sure.
Okay. Well, thanks. Since my name was mentioned again.
Wait, was it?
And with again the 828 provision, we have led. We put that in 4 years ago, I think this week. Someone just told me we passed the bill. We have led at ICAO, and folks, ICAO is the International Civil Aviation Organization. We've been up to Montreal. They have already banned metal lithium. In April, they will ban the ion lithium. And it's so important that we have this international standard. Those planes that are flying cargo, too, all are domestic carriers. We have huge numbers of international flights, cargo, and we want to make certain that that plane that Mr. DeFazio is worried about. My concern is, again, you can lose a couple of pilots, and that would be tragic, but you can also have that plane disintegrate over our skies, and that could be horrific, or coming into one of our cities. So that's why it's so important that we continue our work to get an international standard so that we're protected. And we are well on our way. I have been a critic of ICAO in the past, but unless you have that international standard, we're playing Russian roulette with those cargo planes that are flying in our airspace. I yield back.
Yeah, and real quick, you had said earlier about Costello and a computer burning. That was the other Costello, right? That was from the old Costello.
Yes, and that was Mr. Costello, and he put up
right. I just want to clarify for the record.
A laptop that was actually sitting in the corridor of an airport. It wasn't on a plane. These things can be pretty destructive, even the ones you have. The laptop he showed us blowing up could do a lot of damage. So we do need to make certain we have protections in place, but we've also got to continue down the path that we're on, which is a solid, firm path. Having this provision that we put in 4 years ago taken away and going helter-skelter in some other direction is not going to do it. ICAO sets the standards for the world, and we're subject to having planes of all nations coming in and out of our airspace. I yield back.
I would encourage all members to get to the point quickly. We've been at this for 5.5 hours. We've had 28 amendments. We have 42 more to go. I'm here for the duration. I just want to encourage members, let's get to the point, let's get to the vote. And with that, are any of the members wish to be heard on this amendment? Mr. Capuano.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
That wasn't helpful.
I will be brief, and we're not starting at 34 seconds. The gentleman, I won't use his name again, so we won't have to go around again, but just talked about a foreign carrier coming into the U.S. whose plane disintegrates because of a lithium battery fire, and we want ICAO to act so that won't happen. Actually, the U.S. can prohibit the carriage of goods into the United States that we consider to be dangerous. So we can say no airplane. It's just like we require certain minimum instrumentation on airplanes. We put requirements on foreign carriers landing in the U.S., and we can say you can't use our airspace transporting lithium batteries. That's number one. So that's sort of a bizarre twist on the argument. But secondly, I talked to the FAA representative who's negotiating this issue, and he said ICAO has been blowing us off because they know that we can't do anything. That's what our negotiator told me. I can't advocate, strongly because they know Congress has tied my hands behind my back. So, the ICAO Advisory Committee has acted, subject to action by the entire ICAO, including the People's Republic of China. So you tell me when we're going to get an appropriate ban on the transport of these things. And we can certainly deal with batteries that go in life-saving devices in safe ways, in small amounts. But to not allow the FAA to determine what's a safe amount, what's safe packaging, to move certain critical goods that are very time-sensitive, occasionally by air, versus mass transport day in, day out by air, which isn't necessary, that is what the question is before us. Thank you.
Thank the gentleman. Any members wish to seek recognition? Seeing none. Are there any amendments to the amendment? Seeing none. Question is on Mr. DeFazio's amendment. It's number 65. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say no. No. According to the chair, it seems the noes have it, but Mr. DeFazio has requested a vote. We will do that. We will postpone the vote until later time to be announced.